Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove. I'm back in studio.
You are.
And sitting across from me, it's the man who's been here all along. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. I have indeed, because it's not fun to record from home, I've learned. It requires like building temporary studio space and hanging curtains and whatnot.
So the majority of those shows that people heard, very good shows, while I was on sabbatical, shall we say, were they from the studio?
Every single one of them.
Every single one.
Except the one with you and George. That was not, obviously.
That was not.
Yeah.
That was from Florida. Yeah.
It was not. No. But it's nice to have you back. It's nice
Thank you.
It's nice to not have to scream hello and welcome to an empty room.
Yeah.
It's nice to have it screamed at me from a not-empty room.
So I am back permanently.
Yeah, you are.
I'm hoping. The surgery went well. Thank you to everybody who, asked after me. Chemo starts in a couple weeks, so I may be taking a couple days off here and there, depending on how that goes.
Yeah.
But for now, at least, I'm back. And I've been watching Champions League.
You have. We watched in studio, and it was a not fair return for you. They could have at least scored goals. Did they not know that Daryl Grove was back in studio? That should have been 5-4 both games.
Maybe UEFA saved up all the defending for me.
Yeah, that could be. They're just like, we know he loves it. We know it's his priority.
We're going to give Daryl a wonderful performance from Joshua Kimmich at right back.
Yeah, and there you go. You got exactly what you wanted. It did feel like it should have been a 4-3 game in the bigger one, that is to say the one we were watching on the big screen, and then 1-0 with a Leo Messi free kick. So then we would have something to talk about.
Yeah.
But wouldn't have to really go back and watch the whole thing. Instead, not so much on either case.
This was a day where Leo Messi couldn't even clear the wall with a free kick. We saw that happen in the last 5 minutes. We should say we did not pay close attention to Lyon Barcelona. We can't really speak to that game. We did pay very close attention to Liverpool 0, Bayern Munich 0, and we're going to dig into that game because it was weirdly, even though not many goals, it was very interesting. There's a lot of odd things going on, and I think we've tried to figure out the reasons why.
I would remove the very. I would say it was interesting, and I would say that you could take that in the it was actually interesting to watch, or the my wife version of interesting, which is bad. Could be either one of those, I would say, depending on your perspective.
So, I mean, what's your general takeaway from this game? Because, for example, my memory of this game is a lot of weird, scuffed half chances.
Yeah, I mean, I think my memory of this game, I was going to say, was like when the full-time whistle went, I really did not have a take. I struggled to really have big takeaways of what I saw, aside from Bayern will probably be sad that they don't have Joshua Kimmich for the second leg. He picked up a yellow early on. He'll be suspended for that one. But I guess my takeaway was that both teams kind of were scared to concede, and so neither team really wanted to overcommit numbers in any given situation. Yeah. And so it ended with a 0-0 draw.
So that's what we really saw on the quick rewatch we did, more to confirm our suspicions, right? Which was, I think, especially Bayern, so maybe let's start with them, being concerned about getting stretched out, Liverpool doing their famous sort of gegenpress, get you in transition, have Mane, Salah, Firmino, et al. Running at you. Bayern's plan was, all right, but how about if we just never get pulled out of shape? Yeah. Then they can't do that to us. Yeah. And they really were really disciplined and really followed that plan. So should we get into what the plan was exactly, how they managed to do that?
Because I just want to clarify, I don't think either team had a particularly bad game, but I also don't think either team had a particularly good game. I think if you're looking at it, it was probably Bayern who had the better of the two games because I think defensively they shut out Liverpool's front three, which was going to be a tough ask, especially at Anfield, especially dealing with the pressure and the gegenpress, but then also just the pressure of Anfield. I think that they were kind of able to deal with that and not kind of buckle was a bigger step for Bayern than for Liverpool not conceding at home.
Yep. Here's what I'm guessing Niko Kovac said to his Bayern players. It was essentially, don't be in a rush to get forward. Yep. Especially you, Javi Martinez. Yes. Stay back, be our defensive midfielder, get in the way of everything. Yep. We looked his stats up afterwards. It wasn't sort of 6 interceptions, bunch of tackles. I think ball recoveries weren't listed, but I guess he had a load of those. Yeah. If toe poke was a category that Opta tracked, he'd have a lot of toe pokes.
Yeah, I think he had...
It should be, by the way, Opta, if you're listening.
I think, according to Who Scored, I think he had the best game overall of any player on the field.
That makes sense.
And I think he had the most defensive actions of anyone on the field. I think Jordan Henderson had the most for Liverpool. But I might be wrong on that one.
That tells the story of the game. Yep. Yeah. So Javi Martinez not going forward at all, staying there ready to break things up. Thiago alongside him, occasionally going forward, but being willing to come back. Kimmich and Alaba, I barely saw them overlap. I barely saw them get forward. So that's like back four, two midfielders, already those guys are not joining the attack. There's only a few guys left ahead of them.
I don't think this is an indication of like my attention because we were watching this game together and then we rewatched, as you said. If you asked me if David Alaba was on the field, I would have said no. Mm-hmm. Like I genuinely didn't realize he was there
because he's one of the elite attacking fullbacks. And a good example of what happened in this game is he was asked to mostly stay home and do almost an old-fashioned left-back job where it's defence first because Mohamed Salah's on that side, right? This is one of the reasons why Mohamed Salah was never running free, was always shooting from weird, we looked this up, acute angles.
There we go.
Correct?
Yep. Yeah. You got it.
Thanks, Andy Dufresne, for the other one. Always shooting from acute angles because there was never space exposed for him to attack the way he loves to do.
Yeah, and so I think if you're keeping your fullbacks back, if you're Bayern, then what it felt like they were trying to do was maybe pull Liverpool forward, try to kind of almost exploit the press and get Liverpool committing too many numbers forward, and then look long for Robert Lewandowski. So it felt like Neuer would kind of like not necessarily like mess around, but there was a lot of like weird little like, I'm putting my foot on the ball. Don't you want to come get it from me? And then he would hoof it long to Lewandowski. And I think the idea was maybe Lewandowski then flicks it to the channel for either Kingsley Coman or Serge Gnabry.
Yeah.
And then Bayern theoretically have chances. But even then, when that did work, it was still one winger, maybe one winger on the other side against 3 or 4 or 5 defenders.
Yep. Because the flip side of this is Liverpool, I think, were smart in that they didn't fall into Bayern's trap.
Yeah.
When Bayern did invite Liverpool to come press, they didn't go like full like early Jurgen Klopp heavy metal, everybody banging forward trying to win the ball. You essentially just had the front three. So Firmino, Mane, Salah would try and like funnel towards the middle, but even then wouldn't chase all the way up. And then the 3 midfielders, Henderson, Keita, Georgie Wijnaldum, would not be tempted to be the second wave of the press. They wouldn't get pulled too far out. Fullbacks were back, defenders were back. Liverpool were never exploited because they did not they didn't take the bait ever.
It felt a little bit like if like you and me were playing chess, but it wasn't even a chess match because we were debating who makes the first move. And I was like, no, you make the first move. No, you make the first move. And it felt like a lot of that in this game of like, he made the first. Oh no, he did make the first move. Yeah. He thought about it. Now I'm going to think about making my first move. And it never really felt like it kind of got off the ground.
It's the opposite of speed chess.
Yes. And so I guess I would say that like I've seen this referred to as like a defensive masterclass from Bayern. I've seen it as like heroic defending. Maybe, but I still think it comes down to I think this was just not a particularly good game, and I think maybe that's because both game plans worked. Yeah. They just didn't work all the way to the point where then you have breakthroughs and goals. Instead, it was like they worked 80% of the way, and that left it 0-0 in the end. And
yet the weird thing is there were chances. Yeah. Right. So I specifically remember Sadio Mane having a bunch of weird chances that he did not do as well as he would have liked.
Yes, I think that is a fair statement.
I remember Kingsley Coman bashing it into the side netting. I remember Serge Gnabry sort of having an opportunity but just dribbling straight over the end line. There's a lot of like very high quality players making very what look like low quality technical plays.
You're forgetting the one that made you look up what acute versus obtuse was. It was the Mohamed Salah header that he put just wide that we definitely thought he was going to score.
And then there's a similar angle Mohamed Salah one where he tries to get across it with his left foot and he just plays it directly into the advertising hoardings. Yeah. So I guess my question is, why so much weirdness from very good players?
I think I have an answer, and it's not that clever, though. I think it's basically just that this was a game where both coaches said chances are going to be at a premium, that Bayern are probably going to be very defensive, Liverpool are going to be aggressive in their press, so if Bayern happen to get a chance, you've got to take it to the best of your ability. And for Liverpool, it's sort of, if Bayern are going to be super compact and super defensive, you're probably not going to get many clear-cut chances. And so it felt like with that in mind, all the players knew that, and so when they did get a half chance, it was like, oh, this is at a premium, I'm not going to get this again, I got to try to take it. And it just felt like there wasn't that level of composure that we've seen from both of these teams in recent memory. Instead, it was, I've just got to try to put a foot through this, and then Mohamed Salah whiffs, and then Sadio Mane whiffs, and then somebody else whiffs, and that like really did happen in one sequence.
Do you believe in the idea that sort of when someone like Salah or Mane whiffs, it almost increases the pressure on the next guy to get a chance?
Yeah, I think
it just feels like, that guy's whiffing, I better make sure.
But yes, but it also, I think it increases the pressure on that player, because if you know you're not going to get many chances, and then you miss that one chance, or you feel like you've missed that one chance, then not only are you beating yourself up, but you're also like the next time that occasion comes where you might have a shooting opportunity, now you're in your head thinking, I better not miss this one, because I was told I was only going to get 1 or 2 chances, and here's my second one. Yeah. And as soon as you're kind of overthinking that's where you run into problems. And we just didn't see the kind of fluidity from Liverpool's attack once they got into the 18 that we've seen in games past. And similarly for Bayern, I believe I'm correct in saying that Robert Lewandowski had 3 touches in Liverpool's 18.
So you touched on this briefly, but it seemed that Bayern's plan is once Liverpool didn't bite on the big press, or when just the front three of Liverpool managed to do enough to put Bayern in a bad situation, they would essentially just go direct to Lewandowski's head. Right? So he spent a lot of the game just challenging for balls in the air, like semi-successfully, but not in a way that it wasn't like one of those classic centre-forward performances where every time they went direct, Lewandowski brought it down and held it up and people came and joined him. It was more like flick on and maybe Gnabry will get to it. Maybe James will get. James had like a weird free roll but didn't do a great deal with it. Right? So maybe someone will get to it, but maybe they won't.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that a lot of the focus in this game was on the absence of Virgil van Dijk.
Yes.
There's a little bit of coverage of the fact that Thomas Muller will be suspended for both legs, but what we looked it up. In addition to Thomas Muller, you've got Leon Goretzka had to pull out. Arjen Robben has been injured. Tolisso has been injured. So Bayern also had a lot of injuries that they had to deal with, and I think that's why it was sort of a makeshift attack coming into this one, and it's why I think they'll be pretty pleased with a 0-0 result.
Yeah, it's actually a good result when you look back at it, and I would argue, if we're going to argue about which team had the better result, I would say it seemed like Bayern were more set up for the 0-0. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they definitely put more emphasis on not conceding than they did on scoring, so maybe walking out of Anfield with 0-0. Despite no away goals, maybe they're the happier team.
I think they probably are, because I think statistically they're more likely to go through. The thing that I kept going back to was like, this is the game where you know Virgil van Dijk isn't going to be there. Yeah. And Virgil van Dijk is mortal, obviously. He's been talked about a little bit as
we don't have proof. He's still alive, right?
That's true. But I just feel like he did
chop off the head of a Scottish man.
See, there we go. Yeah. Now I'm concerned.
Yeah,
I'm concerned.
That's why he went to Celtic.
That's why?
Yeah.
That's what it was?
Some quickening.
For murder?
Some quickening.
For hunting the most dangerous game, I think it is. It was a hostile situation. But I think like he is probably the best center back in the world, I would say right now. Mm-hmm. But he is still a player that like can be found out. And so I don't think it was like I guess I found myself thinking, oh, there's no Virgil van Dijk. If you're Bayern, why wouldn't you go at him? Why wouldn't you try to go at their defense because they're kind of vulnerable? But I think looking at it from Bayern's perspective of the injuries they have, you're going to Anfield, a place that in the Champions League really does cause problems. It's such an intense atmosphere, and Liverpool plays such intense soccer that I think it can cause huge problems. And so I think Bayern really did set up to not lose this game.
Yeah, and maybe they thought, no Van Dijk, maybe we'll get more success out of some direct balls to Lewandowski. And I think it's credit to Joel Matip and to Fabinho that he was not allowed to dominate in the air in the way he might have expected to or have hoped to. I just want to focus on Fabinho for a second because I know... So there's a lot of focus on him in the broadcast because he's not the regular centre-back. It's worth noting, he has played some centre-back. Yep. So like it wasn't his first rodeo. It was just maybe his first rodeo against Lewandowski in the Champions League.
Yeah. It's not like Alisson pulled out with injury and they had no other goalkeepers, so they were like, Fabinho, get in goal. We'll see what happens. Yeah. It's a position he's played.
In the Premier League.
And he knows how to defend. Yeah. So, I think all that is to answer your question earlier, I would say that I think Bayern are probably the happier of the teams. But if you're Liverpool, I think there's plenty of reason for optimism heading to the Allianz.
Yeah, okay, so you get Van Dijk back, which despite Fabinho's great performance and Matip's mostly great performance, apart from that one weird flick, Liverpool are an improved team going into the second leg because of the return of Van Dijk.
Yes,
right?
That's a big one.
Even his aerial threat going forward.
That is not to be underrated, yes, because on those set pieces, he's going to be in there, he's going to be causing problems, and he can probably shoot a little better than Joel Matip. That was not great from him.
I can shoot a little better than Joel Matip.
This is where I say, yes, I know that Liverpool lost all 3 of their Champions League group games away, so that's not a good statistic for them. But the biggest thing for me, the reason why I think Liverpool fans should feel a little bit okay with the 0-0 is that any goal means that now Bayern have to score 2, excuse me. But it's also the case, as we talked about previously, that Joshua Kimmich will not be there, and he was so massive in shutting down Liverpool's attack.
I'd say behind Javi Martinez, he's probably the man of the match here.
Yep.
There are so many times when, say, Robertson would get forward or Mane would be running at him. Kimmich's angles, except for that one time when I think Firmino did him with a back heel.
Salah
got
him
with a back heel
yeah.
to Firmino, maybe?
I think
or
so,
to Mane. One of the Liverpool dangerous strikers.
Yeah, it works that way.
Apart from that, his angles were absolutely perfect. There's even times when he was holding down sort of situations where he was about to be outnumbered, didn't let it happen.
He did not. But now he'll be suspended. Rafinha is the most likely player to come in and deputize.
He's fine, but he's no Joshua Kimmich.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is a big step down. In a game where, again, it felt like it was a sort of like chess game that never really got going. Yeah. Once you remove one key piece for Bayern, and it's almost like you're taking away a bishop and adding another pawn or something like that. Like it changes the face of the game and is going to make it that much harder. So I think
a lot of chess analogies today. What's been happening while I've been away? Have you been playing chess?
Just by myself. Just sitting here sadly.
Chess.
Yeah. Just walking from one side of the table to the other, playing back and forth. I tried to play as you, a little riskier, but still conservative at times.
With just one big mistake.
Yeah, I was the one to always bring my queen out. My impersonation of you never brought the queen out. Yeah.
My chess game was always one massive gamble in the middle that never ever paid off. It's very Wikipedia game-ish.
Man, I used to have like one trick move that would work like 80% of the time, but if it didn't, you like automatically lose the game. And there were just so many times when I was so smug and thinking that it had worked, and that it just did not work at all, and I instantly was humbled. So
best of luck to Rafinha.
Yeah, exactly. But it just seems like it will be Liverpool at the Allianz. The pressure will be on Bayern because they know they can't risk conceding. So maybe they're a little bit defensive and a little bit cautious to begin that game because they don't want to get caught chasing for the entirety of that game.
I'll bet they walk out confident and then possibly Liverpool punch them in the mouth.
You think?
Yeah.
All right.
I think that could be the story of that game.
Okay.
It's an early Liverpool goal and then pressure on Bayern to come out and score. I'm trying to amp up the entertainment value.
So I think one thing that will be like interesting to watch for me, because like passing stats are kind of confusing, because to say a person had a bad day with their passing stats usually means that they did like fewer than 85% completion, something like that. Or 85 is usually, I feel like, a minimum standard.
I feel like 80 is minimum. My passing standards are lower than yours.
Yeah, and it was Bayern 85%, Liverpool 80 in this game. And I think that also made it seem that much more disjointed. So that will be one thing that I'm kind of looking at in that second leg is it a little bit calmer? Is there more kind of passing to feet under control, but with intent if you're Bayern? Because it felt like because they dominated possession, but I think that was a lot of like passing it all the way back to Manuel Neuer and then passing it to a center back and then passing it back to Manuel Neuer. There wasn't a lot of intent.
As well, every time a direct ball to Lewandowski is headed by Fabinho or Matip, that's an incomplete pass as well.
True. Yeah? Very true.
Or any time a ball is played down the line for Gnabry to chase, but Andy Robertson gets there first, that's an incomplete pass as well.
Yeah.
Anytime Liverpool tried to pass and Javi Martinez said, no, that ball's mine, that's an incomplete pass.
I can't believe that man looks... I mean, like pot kettle situation here. That man looks so unathletic. I don't understand how he covered all the ground he did.
You described his running style as shuffling.
He doesn't lift his feet.
Yeah.
It's such a weird like gait he has. I can't imagine him at full speed.
Maybe that's the secret to his tackling.
Yeah.
His feet never get off the ground, so they're always there to block the ball.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes it harder for the ball to go into your foot.
This is bad analysis.
I think it's great analysis.
It's my first game back.
There you go.
My first game back.
So overall, were you let down then with your first game back?
A little bit. Well, this is the weird personal part. This is my first game back in the studio, so I was kind of ready for a cracker, ready to for us to break down about 5 goals, and so it was disappointing in that sense.
See, if I hadn't been sick, maybe we could have done Chelsea Man United yesterday. That might have been slightly more fun, but I also might have been intolerable. So I don't know.
We could have had a good look at Pogba's performance.
I would have been all right with that.
This game needed a Pogba.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
Is that right now? That's the way to improve any game. Put a Pogba in it.
Yeah, I think so. I'm okay with that. God, Jose Mourinho. Anyway, maybe Leon Barca would have been improved with a Pogba on there, but don't get any ideas, Barcelona. He's not going anywhere.
Don't get any ideas. All right, so we'll be ready for the second legs of these games, which have to have at least some sort of ball hitting net for someone to go through.
Yeah.
So there's that.
One thing
I'll shoot out if it has to be.
One thing I'll say though, again, this is like from the reaction to these games. I've seen a lot of people, specifically Barcelona fans, very frustrated with Luis Suarez, both in terms of in his performance against Lyon, but then also just in general. It sounds like maybe he has lost a step, lost some of his form, and we have not like watched as much La Liga here. Thanks, beIN Sport, for that. So I think that's something that maybe we'll try to kind of explore in another show this week or next or somewhere in between. Looking at maybe what has gone wrong for Suarez in Barcelona.
Interesting, yeah.
That's what I would like to do.
Yeah, Graham Ruthven was a very good guest.
He knows things.
I'd like to hear his take on that.
Scottish accent is always good. I have to add that too.
Scottish accent, Spanish soccer.
Yep,
the way to go.
I like it. Yep.
All right, tomorrow's games I'm excited to talk about, but let's do it through our new sponsor.
Okay.
This is a great sponsor for us. Today's show is sponsored by BR Live.
Yeah, it is.
Today's show is sponsored by BR Live. So there's a little bit of confusion out there, which is that one game per Champions League day is broadcast on TNT.
This is true.
But every Champions League game is available via BR Live. So this is it's an app. I've got it on my iPad. I've got it on my phone. You can download it to your Apple TV, to Roku, to Amazon Fire. You can also just go to brlive.com and watch on the website. And if you buy a soccer pass, you have access to the entire Champions League, the entire Europa League, League games.
I have been fulfilling my New Year's resolution from 2 New Years ago of watching more Europa League.
Yeah. What did you watch recently?
I watched...
I came in the office just to pick some stuff up and say,
Galatasaray looked very bad against Benfica.
Okay.
I think that was one. I forget what else I've been watching. I flipped around a little bit to try to get some of the Americans. I think maybe Ethan Horvath. I forget if he's played yet or not. But yeah, I tried to flip around to watch just some different games that I wouldn't otherwise be watching, because with BR Live you can. You've got all those games there, so you can be like, yeah, why not watch 10 minutes of this random Greek team playing this random, I don't know, Dutch team? Why not?
You can also open it with one login in as many places as you want. So we've often got like one game on one screen and one game on another screen. Yeah, with BR Live you can watch all the UEFA games, Champions League, Europa League, also some Scottish Premiership. So you can check in on Timo Weah. And if you're a Conrad De La Fuente fan, the UEFA Youth League.
Okay.
The UEFA Youth League. It's the only place to watch it is BR Live.
Yeah. And I like that they kind of set it up so you can have the appetizer tomorrow. You've got Europa League Sevilla v Lazio at noon, and then you've got the Champions League games to follow.
It's an amuse-bouche.
It is. And we know that Atleti Juve will be on the big TV, which means that you can find Schalke Man City on brlive.com.
So I get why the big TV, TNT, is going to have Atleti Juve. It's because Cristiano Ronaldo plays for Juve, and he's a big draw, I understand.
Yes.
But I feel like BR Live...
I like that you were kind of explaining that to me, is like, so there's this guy, Cristiano Ronaldo. You may have heard of him.
But the big draw for like the type of, with all love and respect, the soccer nerds like us who listen to the Total Soccer Show, it's Weston McKennie versus Man City.
Is that how you're billing this
They're
one?
billing it as Schalke v Man City.
Yes.
So the other Champions League game is Weston McKennie versus Man City. That will, of course, be on BR Live.
I really like Weston McKennie. I don't think I would back him if it were him v the entire Man City team. I think that now 11 Weston McKennies, that could be different.
Yes. Weston McKennie, no fear.
Yes. I like it.
So my big question is, where does Weston McKennie play? What position does he play for Schalke against Man City?
Probably goalkeeper.
Because I think we both watched him play right back last weekend.
I mean, he's played right back. He's played as a 6. He's played as an 8. He's played as a 10. I think he's played as a 9.
Yeah.
I think he's played wide on a couple of occasions. My guess would be either... I'm going to say I hope he plays at like the heart of the midfield.
Yes.
Because...
Cover some ground.
Yeah. And especially because this...
Go up against De Bruyne.
Or any number of the players that they have.
Or any of the Silvers.
Yeah, you can just go ahead and list people.
If he's the number 10, he might be responsible for man-marking Fernandinho. That would be quite the test.
Yes, it will.
So anywhere Weston McKennie plays, he's got a test, right? Because he plays right back, it's Leroy Sané.
Oh boy.
There's just no...
Oh boy.
There's no non-testing position.
Man City, good.
Yeah, Man City, good. First. Schalke, not so good.
Not so good.
Right now.
But you can find that one on brlive.com, which is where we'll have that game on the smaller but still large enough screen tomorrow afternoon.
I think we might kick it up to the big screen.
No way.
Really?
No way.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm excited for Atleti Juve.
Okay.
I think.
Let's see how Weston's doing.
All right.
Here's the other thing.
He's not going to start, just to make you even more sad.
If you come home after work and you haven't seen the Champions League games, the great thing about BR Live is when you turn it on, they have the spoiler-free mode.
Yeah, they do.
You will not accidentally get the scores flashed in your face.
No, you won't.
You will just be able to watch the game as if it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, you will.
Because it is a weird thing, right? We forget this because we're lucky enough to be able to come into our office, and the point of our job is to watch the games. A lot of people are at work while these Champions League games are going on. So something like BR Live is the perfect thing to come home to, click it on, watch away. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Unlike many 2014 episodes of the Total Soccer Show.
Yes. Yips.
Remember how people were
people
very
didn't
upset
love
about Mad Max Fury Road?
Oh, yes. Oh, I think you meant when we used to put the scores of the game into the headline.
Yeah, we spoiled all kinds of things.
Game of Thrones was the one that I think we heard the most about.
Yes.
Like, that's one that we've learned that just don't even mention Game of Thrones. Don't even mention a character on Game of Thrones.
Don't
it doesn't
mention
help.
Ned Stark's head and what it's attached to.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
So long ago.
It doesn't matter.
So long ago.
There's going to be somebody.
I said don't mention it.
There's going to be somebody.
So yeah, today's show, BR Live. You download the app or just go to brlive.com. get yourself a soccer pass, watch all the Champions League, watch all the Europa League, watch all the other good soccers that's on there as well.
All the other good soccers. I'm sure that's their official slogan.
Thank you to BR Live for sponsoring today's show. Also, completely unrelated, genuinely, these two things had no connection, as I understand it. But a big thanks to Stu Holden for the GoFundMe shout out on TNT last week.
Yeah.
That brought a little tear to my eye because that was really touching.
It made my jaw drop. I was in here eating lunch before that game started, and we don't always have the pregame on. I did for that game, and it was a surprise to suddenly hear about a GoFundMe and about Total Soccer Show. I was like, whoa, okay. Oh. But it was amazing because, again, it represents how important Daryl Grove is to the soccer community. Well, it was nice to hear. It was nice to hear people supporting you and having your back and showing you some love.
I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's sort of shown some love or supported me or shared the GoFundMe. Yeah. It's really meant a lot these last 3 weeks or so. It's really given me a really big lift, right? Like MLS Reddit was big at the start of it. MLSsoccer.com with Charlie Boehm's article, and everybody who's tweeted and retweeted and reached out and checked in on me. Really, really appreciate it. I want to say thank you to everybody who's done anything for me these last few weeks.
I concur.
All right, Taylor Rockwell.
Yeah, buddy.
Anything left on this show?
I can't believe how brief the show is that we're talking about 2 Champions League games. But in reality, when it's 2 0-0 games, neither of which, by all accounts, were that good of games, it kind of makes sense. So
we'll be back tomorrow to talk about how Weston McKennie conquered Manchester City and whatever happens in the Atletico versus Juve game.
I can't wait for Schalke City to be 2-0 City and Atleti Juve to be 5-4 or something like that.
We'll have goals to break down.
There we go.
We'll have goals to break down. All right, Taylor Rockwell. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.